All right, hello there, class. Welcome to another distance learning lesson. Welcome back from spring break. So as usual, let's copy this all down. As you notice, I changed a little bit of this stuff. So make sure you copy the stuff down, and also make sure you do the warm up. The Chinese word of the day is back. So 应用. This means to use or apply something. Sometimes it is about knowledge. Sometimes it's about other things. But yeah. So like you can 应用 a person also, like to do something. Like if you wanted a tutor, you can 应用 a tutor to teach you something. So very simple example that, yeah. All right, I'm going to move on. Make sure you also guess. Use the FLT to guess. Don't just say because the teacher wants us to learn Chinese, because that's not what I want. That's what you all wanted. That's why I'm doing this. So, make sure that if you do that, I'll take off points. Take this seriously. I want you to think about the math content. All right, so let's move on in 3, 2, 1. I'm assuming you already did that. Okay, so now let's go and do this. So copy this down and then try to remember what these things are, these things mean. So look back at your notes or Google them or something, pause the video, copy this all down. Yes, draw that too. I'm going to assume you did this in 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay. So from the diagram, list the angles that are vertical angles. So vertical angles, those are the ones that are across from each other. So like 1 and 4. Those are across from each other, therefore they are vertical angles. So we have angle 1 and angle 4. We have 2 and 3, yeah. They are across from each other. And then 5 and 8. And then we have 6 and 7. Okay, corresponding angles basically means that they're in kind of like the same place, so to speak. So if you see like the 4 of those, we have 1 and 5. They're both in the upper left-hand corner, so they're called corresponding angles. So angle 1 and angle 5. And then we also have 2 and 6. They're in the same position, upper right hand, so angle 2 and angle 6. And then 3 and 7, same bottom left corner. So angle 3 and angle 7. And then the last two that we have are 4 and 8. Okay, same side interior. So let's see what's inside and are the same. Well, here's a side. Those are inside, so 3 and 5. Angle 3 and angle 5. The other insides, we have 4 and 6. So we got angle 4 and angle 6. Now, alternate interior angles. Alternate means different sides. So the interior, we're still looking at the interior angles. So only these 4. So of those, which ones are on opposite sides? Well, we have 3 and 6. And then we also have 4 and 5. Great. Same side exterior. So now we're looking at the ones that are outside. That was not supposed to do that. Okay, anyway, we'll just look at that. Or let me backtrack on those just so that... Sorry, I thought I was on a different layer. Okay, so we had angle 3 and angle 6. Then we had angle 4 and angle 5. Great. Okay, so now let's look at the exterior angle. So we're looking at these 4. Same side. We have 1 and 7. Then we have 2 and 8. On the right hand side. Now alternate. We got 1 and 8. And then we have 2 and 7. Alright, so now what I'm actually going to have you guys do is create this thing. So we're going to jump into using some paper and stuff, and you'll do it on there. So the expectation is that you're going to get some line paper, you're going to actually do this. So we're going to do some hands-on stuff. It'll be fun, trust me. Paper, Sharpie, preferably a marker of some sort. You want it thick, you'll see why. And then ruler and scissors. So let's start by first cutting this in half. It doesn't matter if you're in the exact middle. It's just I want you guys to be able to save some paper. So yeah, you're gonna make a copy of something, so that's why you're gonna need 2 of them. So let's first start over here. You're gonna take the ruler and the Sharpie or whatever thick marker type thing you have, and then make a line on any of these. I'm gonna go like this. Great, so now choose another one, just maybe a few more down, don't just do directly right under. So just some space in between. And then just do any sort of thing like this. Alright, so now we're going to copy this thing. So what I like to do here is line up some of those lines. And then, so I'm not going to directly trace over it. What I'm going to do is put a dot on each of those. Because you can create a line from just 2 points. So let's go over here, make a line there, make it nice and thick. That way the thing that we're doing later is a lot easier to do. Essentially we're going to be cutting along the lines. You'll see what I mean. And then here's the last one. Alright, so now choose one of them, either of them, it doesn't really matter. And then just write this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And on the other one, that one we're gonna cut. So essentially you just need to cut this top part. And we're going to use this basically to measure. So try to get as exact as possible, but you don't have to stress out too much, just as long as it's pretty much there. So notice essentially we get this thing, that cut out. So we have angle 1 right there. Now let's get angle 2. And we're only going to be using angles 1 and 2. You will see why as we go throughout the lesson. I'm going to cut that off to make it a bit easier for me to cut this. So don't cut the actual lines off because we need the actual line. You just want to cut the white space off. Alright, so now let's compare things. See what is congruent to what. So that's angle 1. We have this copied, so let's see. What looks like angle 1? Angle 4 kind of looks like it, so let's try. So let's match up the middle part. Match up the lines. and hey look, they actually are a perfect match. If you look at that, and you should be doing this on your own also, and you'll be able to see that they are indeed a perfect match. So we get those, that's the angle symbol, and then just do a mark like that. That means the things with the same mark are the same. They're congruent. Now let's look. It looks like 5 is kind of big also. Also, a quick thing. Notice, if I try to do it over here to angle 2, you can see that this is way too big for angle 2. So it's not angle 2. So angle 5, let's match up the center parts. And let's see, what do we get? Yep, it is also a perfect match. How about 8? Let's look at that. Yep, perfect match yet again. Now we'll see what's congruent to 2. So for 2, I'm just going to give it this mark because it's different than 1. It's very clearly different than 1. So let's see what is the same as that. Well, we have 3 that we can check because 4 we already don't need to. So let's match that up. And if you match it up correctly, then yes, that is also perfect. How about 6? Let's see, match that up. Yes, that is also perfect. And then 7, let's measure that. Yep, also a perfect match. Okay, so here's just a quick summary of what we got from the paper. We have these things are congruent. So the question is, well, what types of things are congruent? Well, what relationships are congruent? More so. So we see that 1 and 4 are congruent. They have a certain type of relationship. We see 1 and 4. They're vertical angles. Are all vertical angles congruent? We have 5 and 8. So that checks off. I'm just going to do a check mark. So 1 and 4, they check off also. And then 2 and 3. Yeah, those are congruent. 6 and 7. Yep. That checks off too. So vertical angles, yes, they are congruent. Well, what else is congruent? Well, let's say we have 1 is congruent also to what else? 1 is also congruent to 5, it looks like. Is there any sort of relationship between 1 and 5? If we look over to the left, we see 1 and 5, they're corresponding angles. So let's check the other corresponding angles. So we have 1 and 5. That checks off. How about 2 and 6? 2 and 6? Yep. That checks. 3 and 7. Are they? Yep. 3 and 7. 4 and 8. Yes. They are also congruent. How about same side interiors? Are they congruent? Well, if we look at this, let's just check the first one. 3 and 5. So we see 5 is here, 3 is here. They're not the same, so no. Same side interiors. If one of them doesn't work, all of them don't work. Okay, so that we don't need to worry about. Alternate interiors, let's look at that. Alternate interiors, 3 and 6. Are they in the same? Well, yeah, those are, so that checks off. How about 4 and 5? Yep, that also checks off. Let's look at same side exteriors. So 1 and 7, are they? So there's 1, there's 7, so no. Same side exteriors are not. Now the last group that we want to look at, or that we even can look at, alternate exteriors, 1 and 8. There's 1, there's 8, same line, they're congruent. 2 and 7, yep, there we go. So just a really quick summary over there about what in the world just happened. We see that vertical angles are congruent, corresponding alternate interior and alternate exteriors are congruent. So the main thing is if you can get those, and identify which ones are verticals, corresponding alternate interior and exteriors, then you can find congruence. All right, so here's the work that I have for us to do. I want you to copy down the diagram and then identify which ones are which. So here's an example of also like which ones are congruent. So state these four first so that it's easier for you to have them organized. And then over here, state which ones are congruent. So for example, something that you can write is angle 1 is congruent to angle 6. Let me write that better. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 6 because they are vertical angles. So that because part is very important. I want you to have that reason there. And then as you can see, some of these are a little bit weird. Like for example over here, we see 2 and 3 like that. So you can actually say that 13, so 13, and then this angle over here, they're supposed to be the same. But that's not just 1, that's 2. 2 and 3. So you can just put those together if you need to. Alright, so if you need help, let me know. Hope this helps. Have a great day, everybody.